The World Bank projects global commodity prices to hit a 6-year low by 2026. That's next year, marking the 4th consecutive annual decline. Now, prices are expected to fall 7% each in 2025 and 2026 due to sluggish global growth and oil or surplus that we've seen and policy uncertainty. We even see that Brent crude could drop to about $60 per barrel, while food prices ease on improved supply. Precious metals remain strong, with gold and silver nearing record highs, and the bank wants that falling energy costs over short-term inflation respite, urging governments to use this window to engineer fiscal reforms and investments. AI-driven energy demand and La Nina could also disrupt a market. So we'll be discussing this with our guest, AbdulMajeed Amussah, founder and CEO, Dear Nigeria. AbdulMajeed, thank you so much for joining us once again on the show.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here. Good morning.
All right, so global commodity prices are set for a 4th straight year of decline. We're looking at a 6-year low driven by weak growth, oil oversupply, policy uncertainty, and the likes. How would you frame this trend?
Well, I'm always optimistic. I'm always positive about what's going on because I come from emerging markets and there's still so much for us to do. So what we're seeing here is that 10-year cycle coming back. Let's look back a little bit, 2014 to 2016, where we were receiving similar reports. And what the World Bank is doing by putting this headline out there is to actually prepare people, prepare businesses, and prepare governments, economies, and so on for what is yet to come. So when you find this lack of demand globally and this increase in the amount of crude supply in the world is something that makes governments see diversification as something that must be in the front burner. It's important for governments to rethink how they want to hedge their economies, how they want to restructure their economies, how they want to create productivity out of their economies to unlock a more resilient economy. Pretty much that's what must be done in this moment. It's a time to do the work and get ready for what's next, kind of redesigning your direction as a country or as an economic base.
Well, interestingly, we see that this price slump seems not to be affecting precious metals like gold and silver. Why do you think they are defying the broader commodity slump, and what does that say about investor sentiment?
Yeah, I mean, what this tells us is very clear. There's a lot of uncertainties in the world right now. And, gold has always been one of the safest havens. And what silver is benefiting from is two things. One is also, recognized as maybe the cheaper kind of gold. And two, there's a huge demand for renewable energy and energy transition. And it's used a lot in the solar industry for manufacturing. So those two things are driving the demand of those precious metals. But most importantly, it's about its insurance behavior. The fact that gold can act as an insurance, can be a protection for investors, and can serve as one of the most reliable hedging techniques. And it's been there since time immemorial as well.
Okay, so we see that lower energy and food prices seem to be easing inflation, so to speak. But then, could this temporary comfort hide deeper structural weaknesses, especially for export-reliant developing economies?
Yes, so these lower prices can get you comfortable, thinking, oh, I have lower prices. But what you find out is the inputs will start to rise, if you don't keep an eyes on them. So countries that are used to just relying on commodity exports and so on, like Nigeria, like Congo, like Angola, countries like that must rethink, actually look inward and unlock industrialization at a rapid scale. They must diversify their economies pretty much. And it's interesting for us in Nigeria because we have come into this cycle with a bit of strength and a bit of structural reform. And that structural reform that we have put in place, I feel if we continue, if we do see this moment for what it is and we put the right levers in place, we've come into this moment quite strong, and we can come out of it, even happier and stronger as a nation, pretty much.
Okay, so permit me to ask this, AbdulMajeed. Now, just as you have said, falling food prices seems to look positive for now, but yet if fertilizer costs surge and we see farmer margins shrink in the agri space, are we not facing a hidden global food security crisis that probably might be disguising as a short-term affordability, regime?
Yes, that is possible, but that is why we have said that it's time for governments to rethink their value chains. They must find as many alternatives to importation as possible and as many alternatives to things like fertilizer. For example, unlocking limestone as an industrial contributor as an alternative to fertilizer. For example, the phosphate, the potash, and things like that. So this is what countries must think about in a way that would balance the inputs of their farmers and give them the relief they need to continue to be productive. Because if they are unproductive, we're going to find a negative impact in our food security, like you've just pointed out. So there are elements that would be more affordable now, that would be useful to the farmers' growth in terms of industrialization and things like that. But there must be a clear plan on how they should, be sustained through this period and come out of it stronger for a more sustainable, regime. So local value chains must be developed in this moment. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, so let's go back quickly to talking about the deepening oil glut for countries that heavily rely on energy import or oil imports, or, so to speak, or exports. Now, do lower oil prices for this period offer developing nations maybe a window to reform costly fuel subsidies?
Oh yeah, definitely. And like I told you, Nigeria has come into this moment a bit stronger than other nations because we're literally in the middle of our reforms, and our reforms are in the direction of giving us a good positioning through such turbulent times that we're about to experience with the lower food prices. And diversification has been on the agenda of the government. So personally, what I mirror Nigeria as is like, let's say Saudi Arabia like 10 years ago, where we're making a clear plan to diversification to actually take place.
AbdulMajeed?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, yes. All right. Okay, so I think there was a few seconds of glitch right there. So I understand. So now, we're trying to round up on this now. With Brent crude projected at $60 per barrel, can OPEC economies sustain their budgets under growing fiscal strain and subsidy distortions?
Yeah, it's a tough time. A lot of countries have to reevaluate the way they've arranged their budgets. They must create budgets that match the moments that we are in. They must be seen deliberately pumping money into parts of the economy that requires the relief in this moment. But countries that have a lot of social commitments and subsidies, bills and things like that will struggle through this period. And like I said, I like the fact that my country has preached away from this direction in this moment. So I feel like if we continue to sense the right signals and put the right levers in place to respond very, very quickly, I feel like the policies that have been put in place will allow us to have a relatively softer period through this cycle. That's what I'm trying to say. We have the right policies in place. We're speaking the right things. We're saying less of social investment. We're encouraging more of investment that actually can turn into real growth, into productivity where it's needed the most. Industrialization, manufacturing, local value chains must be seen to be given the right attention, in this moment, pretty much. The crude oil price is something that, if depending on your budget, the benchmark you've set in your budget, you might need to actually build those buffers, or kind of restructure how you put your benchmark for your oil price to match the reality a bit more better.
Okay, so now, aside Nigeria, because you've been more pronounced about Nigeria, but then let's look at even the oil producers in its entirety. What strategies do you think they can adopt to safeguard their revenue amid persistent price volatility? Of course, we understand their peculiarities and how the global market affects them in terms of the fluctuations in price. But then if you're going to give a general view as regards what they can do, what kind of adoption could help them mitigate risks?
Yeah. So in moments like this, what you find countries doing, oil-producing countries doing, is that they will start calling on their sovereign funds. They will start calling on those those monies that they've put aside for turbulent times. They will start calling on those monies and structure how to spend those monies in the right places to unlock the right, things that they need for the economy to remain sustainable through the period. Then they would also start looking at borrowing for something that needs to be done very quickly. Things that like a quick reform that they have in mind. They might be borrowing to meet that obligation. And then I think they might also be considering budget cuts as well. Things that would have been nice to have may need to be cut down on so that you focus on the needs to have, and things like that. I think it would always be around any of those things. It's about, cutting your coat according to your size.
Yeah.
It's about calling on your rain day funds. And it's also about actually redesigning your budget to be more productive where you want it to.
All right, thank you so much, AbdulMajeed Amussah, founder, CEO at Dear Nigeria, for sharing your thoughts with us on the show.
It's a great pleasure. Thank you so much. We talk about Africa a lot. We're the giant of Africa. We talk about Nigeria a lot. We're the giant of Africa. So what happens here, really mirrors a lot across the continent. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Of course. I mean, Nigeria is a major oil producer. Why not? Why not talk Nigeria? Thank you. It was nice talking to you.
Thank you.